Today I have something special for you guys. The video today is the 5 books that you must read this year. And I don't think you have to read these books and only these books. I want you to read as much as possible, but in these 5 books is everything you need to know to really figure out something about yourself, to really discover something great inside of you. And don't we all want that? Don't we all want that for each other? Shouldn't we all be maximizing our own potential? That's it. Without further ado, let's get into the first book, Psycho-Cybernetics. This is a tremendous book. This is a book that I think it used to be a lot more popular. It seems to be fading out of public consciousness. It doesn't seem like as many people are talking about it, but the basic premise of the book is that a plastic surgeon performed all of these surgeries and he realized that the actual physical alterations weren't as important as the psychological alterations. And what I mean by this is that there was a salesman and he had a very big nose, and he would always lose the sale because when he's in these meetings, when he's about to close this deal, he's always thinking about how big his nose is. I know you guys are just staring at my nose right now. I swear it's not that big. But anyway, and basically he was losing all these sales because he's like, damn, these people are looking at my nose. I'm so self-conscious, all of these things. And he barely changed the way the nose looked, but it just skyrocketed this guy's sales. And it really just solidified in Dr. Maxwell Maltz's mind that your self-image, the way you perceive yourself and the way that you project yourself into the world, has so much effect on your life. And in this book, it's talking about all of these different tactics, all of these different things to reframe things in your mind, to reframe failure as an opportunity to learn, failure as an opportunity to grow, failure as an opportunity to, re-engage and refocus and repurpose your energy in a different way. And it's very, very inspiring. And I really, really, really urge you to pick up this book, because this book, it takes a much more physical, materialistic outlook to a lot of the stuff I believe. A lot of the more spiritual stuff that I live my life by is encapsulated in this book. And it's in a way that, the person that doesn't believe in anything, the person that doesn't have any sense of faith or whatever, they're going to believe the words in this. And that's what I really love about this book. The next book I want to talk about is How to Win Friends and Influence People. I will not stop suggesting this book. The sad thing about this book is it's not one of my favorite books to read. Like, every time I go back through it, I'm like, all right, this is very basic. This is very simple stuff. It's not super inspiring. It's not something you'll put down and be like, my life has changed. But when you start to apply the principles, you're like, my life has changed. It's truly that simple, and it's just such basic information that will really go such a far way in your life. Like, one of the greatest parts of this book is the idea of saying someone's first name, seeing someone calling them by their name, because you immediately build rapport. The idea is that in the English language, their favorite word is their own name because they associate it with themselves. And the more you can say this, the more you can almost hack your way to a better relationship, a better engagement. And another idea of this book that I truly love is the idea of not arguing, the idea of showing someone why they're wrong instead of explaining it to them. Because even if you beat someone in an argument, they're never going to, let that go. A lot of people hold on to anger, a lot of people hold on to frustration. And you know what? Maybe they're right in some regards, maybe you're right in some regards, but it's the discussions and the arguments that are keeping us from actually coming up with solutions. And the way that Dale Carnegie goes about explaining all these things, it's very, very simplistic, and it's so simple that this is a book that if you go through a few times, your communication skills will just be bolstered so much. And I really urge you to pick up this book. I'm pretty sure you should be able to find this online for free somewhere. I have no idea if you're a copyright attorney, ignore this, but I'm sure you can find it for very cheap. I'm sure you can find a ebook or a Kindle or something that's maybe $1, maybe a few dollars, maybe it's in public domain. I have no idea, but this is an essential book, and I think everyone should read this one. The next one is Creativity by Osho. A lot of Osho's stuff is very weird, very weird for a Western mind to try to break down. It's Osho doesn't really believe in goals. He doesn't believe in anything. He doesn't believe in belief systems. He doesn't believe in religion. He doesn't believe in God. His belief is in nothing. We don't have enough time for me to explain this right now, but what Osho says about creativity is truly inspiring, and it's really allowed me to accept that creative side of myself. And Osho's basic premise of the book is the only pure joy in life is creativity. The only time where you're going to feel like yourself, when you're going to feel like you're fulfilling yourself to the utmost degree, is when you're being creative, when you're singing a song, when you're writing a poem, when you're writing a book, when you're filming a video, when you're doing something creative and expressive. That's where your true life is being lived. And so many of us don't find room for creativity. So many of us rely on all of these tactics we've learned, on all of these restrictions and limitations and these rules that have been set up for us, and we don't allow for creativity in our life. But if you truly want to live a good life, you have to be creative. And he defines creativity very, very interestingly. He uses a old Buddhist monk story. I think it's a Buddhist monk story. It might be Zen, Taoist, whatever. I don't want to get into the differences right now, but the story goes that the master was telling these students when they meditate, they need to be like bamboo. It's the same thing with creativity, but when you're meditating, you're a hollow shell, and the inside of you is just flowing. The inside of you is just light. The outside is rigid, but the inside is flowing, and that's what it feels like when you're in that moment, when you're in that game where it feels like you just can't miss. When you're writing that poem, when you're writing that story, when you're trying to express that idea, and it just flows. It's that feeling, and it's clinging on to that feeling and being in that moment every part of the day. And this book is so tremendous and so transformative in terms of my creative development. I really suggest you pick this up. Like, there's other books when it comes to creativity that are really good. There's Robert Greene's Mastery. There's this one. There's a lot of other ones that are more like esoteric. One of the better ones is The Science of Getting Rich. There's a ton of books. I just think this one does it the best, and I think you're going to enjoy this one the most. The fourth book that we're going to go over today is Man and His Symbols. This is a book that was partly written by Carl Jung, partly written by his other students, but it's basically Jung's ideas expressed in the most friendly way, expressed in a way that can reach the largest audience. And it's not to say that you won't be able to read his other stuff, but it's like, if you've never been exposed to his other ideas, it might be very difficult to parse them out. It might be very difficult to understand them. And I really think if you haven't read anything by Jung, you should pick up this book first, because it really gives you the broadest overview, and it taught me a lot of things about Jung, and I've read probably 10 Jung books at this point. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I thought I understood Jung, and then I read this book and I saw it in a different way. I saw it in a different perspective. And that's the greatest part about Jung, is that, you know, you can read all of these things about him, but the more you ponder him, the more you seem to understand. And the basic principle of Jung is that there are parts of our personality that have been hidden, that have been just suppressed simply because our active mind needs to hold space for, you know, whatever we're studying, whatever project we're working on, the people's names that we've seen recently. Like, we've just have so much information stored in our brain that our brain has to suppress it, and those suppressions eventually begin to shape deeper and insecurities and your personality and things that go wrong in your life. And you can only really figure out the source of these things through your dreams, or through, you know, like sort of pseudo meditative states. We're getting very deep here, but it basically just expresses that your dreams hold the solution to your life, and the moment you can understand your dreams is the moment you can understand yourself. And it's something that will really open your eyes to a lot of things that have always been present, but you haven't been able to put your finger on it. And I think truly, out of any psychologist to read Jung, will give you the greatest understanding of yourself. The last book is Emerson. This is probably one of the most inspiring things you'll ever read. If you don't want to pick up this book, I urge you to simply just pick up Emerson's Self-Reliance. It's 100% for free online, because I've found that I've sent the link to my Discord. I've sent it on my channel. This is something that you need to read. Emerson's ideas are something you need to pick up. And to summarize Emerson, very simply, it's just individuality. The moment you're restricted in any way is the moment that you lose yourself. And Emerson recognized the rigidity in society, the rigidity in religious systems, the rigidity in government, and all of these things, and how they really pull the individual away from themselves, how they pull the individual away from nature. And it's not just like going out and living with the trees. It's not just like the simplistic Walden version. It's simply just being yourself, finding fulfillment, doing what you want to do, making yourself happy. Like, think, how many times have you made a decision trying to act for someone else? How many times have you, maybe you went to college, maybe you went to whatever school just simply because your parents wanted you to do this. Maybe you got a job because people said, well, you have to do this, you have to do that. Like, maybe you went down a career path, even though you didn't want to, just because the people around you said, will this be good for you? Even though it doesn't bring you any happiness, even though it doesn't bring you any joy. I saw a quote today, and it was something on Twitter. Someone was saying something along the lines of like, would most people do their jobs if there was no money involved? And if you can't answer yes in an instant, then that's not a job for you. That's not something that you should really be spending your time to, because I'm telling you, there's something out there that would make you divinely happy, whether it's you slash your salary in half and go do social work, you slash your salary in half and go find something that actually brings you joy every day. Because the truth about things is, like, you can push off happiness for your entire life, but are you going to be able to be happy in that moment when you retire, or are you going to try to find something else to keep yourself busy? And I love Emerson so much. I think he puts all of these philosophies the best. He's probably my favorite philosopher, if you would consider him a philosopher at all. I know it's sort of a gray area, but again, you can't go anywhere wrong with any of these 5 books. I will link all of them in the description. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for making this far. Hopefully you pick up these books. If you do, come back to the channel, comment on this video, let me know what you thought of each one or whatever one you read, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Thank you guys so much. Peace out. Check out all the links. My Discord's there as well. That's where I'll tell you when I'm streaming. On top of that, my school is where you can find my writing, my courses, other stuff. That's, some of it's fiction, some of it's nonfiction, some of it's philosophical, some of it's just basic, like, set your life up in this way. Find out what you really want out of life, like certain things to try to guide you in the right direction. But if any of that sounds interesting, go ahead, check it out. Love you guys so much. Peace out.